Hello everyone. So today let's study about economic development and environmental degradation. What is the relationship between economic development and environmental degradation? You all know that economic growth has undoubtedly brought numerous advantages, enhancing the living standards, improving the quality of life worldwide. However, this progress has come at a significant environmental cost, resulting in the depletion of natural resources and degradation of ecosystems. So, depletion of natural resources, how it takes place? These economic activities they often depend heavily on the extraction and consumption of natural resources. This includes the use of fossil fuels, minerals, metals, and other raw materials. As economies grow, the demand for these resources increases, leading to the overexploitation and depletion of these resources. For example, the extraction of fossil fuels such as coal, oil, natural gas has led to a decline in these non-renewable resources, making them scarcer and harder to obtain. Then how it degrades ecosystems? Ecosystems provides a range of services that are crucial for human well-being, including clean water, air, food, and climate regulation. However, economic activities such as deforestation, industrialization, urbanization have led to degradation of these ecosystems. This degradation appears in many ways, including loss of biodiversity, soil erosion, water pollution, disruption of natural cycles. Then climate change and carbon dioxide emissions. One of the most important examples of environmental degradation is climate change, which is primarily driven by increased level of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases in the atmosphere due to human activities. The burning of fossil fuels for energy, deforestation, industrial processes have significantly increased the carbon dioxide levels, contributing to global warming. Now, this has locked the world into a direction of climate change, making it challenging to limit global temperature rises to below 2 degrees Celsius, which is a threshold identified to prevent the most catastrophic impacts of climate change. Millennium Ecosystem Assessment findings were there. So it provides a comprehensive evaluation of the state of the world's ecosystem. It found that 15 out of the 24 ecosystem services it examined were being degraded or used unsustainably. These services included freshwater supply, food production, natural hazard regulation, all of which are very important for human survival and economic activities. The unsustainable use of these services threatens their availability and functionality, leading to a long-term consequences for both environment as well as human societies. So we can study the relationship between economic growth and environment with the help of environmental Kuznets curve, EKC. Now, it is a concept used to describe the relationship between economic growth and environmental quality. It suggests that as an economy grows, environmental degradation initially increases, but after reaching a certain level of economic development, further growth leads to improvement in environmental quality. This relationship is often depicted as an inverted U-shaped curve when plotting environmental degradation against per capita income. Now, what happens in this? At initial phase means when a country is developing economically, it often focuses on growing its industries and economy quickly. This means that protecting the environment may not be a top priority during this early stage. This led to increase in pollution, resource depletion as industries expand and urbanization progresses. Now, common indicators of environmental degradation in this phase includes higher level of air and water pollution, deforestation, loss of biodiversity. Then comes the second point, as an economy continues to grow, means as an economy grows it eventually reaches a point where the people they will have enough money to start spending on improving the environment. At this stage there is enough income to invest in the things that protect and clean the environment. Public awareness about environmental issue will rise, and there is greater demand for cleaner technologies and stricter environmental regulations. Then in the last phase, what will happen? Economic growth and environmental improvement both will take place. Beyond the turning point, further economic growth led to improved environmental quality. Wealthier societies can afford to invest in cleaner technologies, enforce environmental regulations, and prioritize sustainable practices. Indicators of environmental improvement in this place include reduced emission of pollutants, better waste management, reforestation efforts, and improved air and water quality. Now the image, it shows a graph with the x-axis labeled GDP per capita and the y-axis labeled environmental damage. The curve on the graph forms an inverted U shape, suggesting a relationship where environmental damage initially increases with GDP per capita but decreases after reaching a certain level of GDP per capita. So shape of this curve, which is an inverted U, it can be explained through the following stages. So first is low GDP per capita. In the early stages of economic development, the countries, they will focus on growing their economies in order to raise the people's quality of life or their living standards. Industrialization, urbanization, and increased consumption drive economic activities, often with little regard for environmental consequences. At this stage, industries and infrastructure developments typically depend on resource intensive and polluting technologies. So, as a result, environmental degradation increases. Indicators include higher pollution levels, deforestation, resource depletion. Then, second is moderate GDP per capita. As the economy grows and people earn more money, the damage to the environment becomes more noticeable. Now, this is the peak of the inverted U curve where environmental degradation reaches its highest point. At this level of economic development, the adverse effects on the environment become significant enough to be noticed by the public, government, and other stakeholders. Then last stage is high GDP per capita. Beyond the turning point, further economic growth leads to a shift in priorities. With higher income levels, societies can afford to invest in cleaner technologies and sustainable practices. Public awareness and concern about environmental issues increase, leading to a stronger demand for environmental protection and sustainable development. Governments implement stricter environmental regulations and policies, encouraging businesses to adopt green technologies and practices. Then investment in renewable energy, energy efficient, waste management, pollution control technologies become more feasible. As a result, environmental degradation begins to decline despite continued economic growth. Indicators include reduced air and water pollution, better waste management, and conservation efforts. The relation between income levels and environmental quality, as described in the EKC, can be explained in three stages reflecting changing priorities and behaviors as income rises. So first is low income stage. At low income levels, individuals and societies, they prioritize immediate and essential needs such as food, shelter, healthcare, and education. Limited financial resources are directed towards improving living standards and economic survival rather than addressing environmental issues. Pollution control measures, which can be costly, are seen as unaffordable luxuries. As a result, economic activities that generate pollution and degrade the environment are tolerated to drive growth and meet basic needs. Then middle income stage. Now, as the income rises, and basic needs are increasingly met, individuals and societies they start to consider the quality of their environment. There is growing awareness of the adverse effects of pollution and environmental degradation on health and well-being. At this stage, people begin to weigh the trade-offs between further consumption and benefits of a cleaner environment. So in this context, trade-offs means considering the compromises or balancing the choices between two things. At this stage, people they start to evaluate the compromise between continuing to consume more and the benefits of having a cleaner environment. While environmental damage continues to increase due to ongoing industrialization and consumption, the rate of increase slows as some resources are allocated towards pollution control and environmental protection. Then third is high income levels. Once people reach a certain level of income, getting more money doesn't add as much extra happiness or benefit. So at this point, they start to value having a clean and healthy environment. Individuals and societies, they start to prioritize spending on pollution control and environmental protection over further increases in consumption. Investments in cleaner technologies, renewable energies, and sustainable practices, they become more common. The shape of the environmental Kuznets curve can also be explained by technological process and behavior changes. These factors contribute to the initial increase in environmental degradation, followed by improvements in environmental quality as the income rises. So first is technological process. In the early stages of economic development, firms prioritize rapid expansion and increased production to meet the growing demand and increase economic growth. During this phase, industries use technologies that take up a lot of resources and cause pollution because they are cheaper and they will be got easily. Environmental degradation increases as a result of inefficient production processes and the extensive use of natural resources. As economies grow and technology evolves, firms start adopting more advanced and efficient production methods. Technological innovations led to a cleaner and more resource efficient processes, reducing the environmental impact of industrial activities. Examples includes the development of renewable energy sources, energy efficient machinery, waste recycling technologies, and pollution control equipment. The adoption of cleaner technologies becomes more feasible and economically viable as the firms and economies they become wealthier. Behavior change. In the early stages of development, societies prioritize higher level of consumption to improve living standards and achieve economic growth. The focus is on material wealth and economic indicators, often at the expense of environmental considerations. As income levels rise and basic needs are met, societies begin to value other aspects of quality of life, including environmental health and sustainability. Increased awareness of environmental issues, driven by education, media, personal experiences, leads to a shift in the societal values. People start to recognize the long-term benefits of a healthy environment, such as improved health, recreational opportunities, and overall well-being.